Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. And today, we're being joined by Amy Klein, who is the author of The Trying Game, Get Through Fertility Treatment and Get Pregnant Without Losing Your Mind. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Well, we are thrilled to have you. Are you ready to begin?
Great, yes.
All right, question number 1. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
I would give a piece of advice that is contradictory, and I would say, on the one hand, decide who your audience is and who you're talking to, and on the other hand, don't think about your audience and who you're talking to. Write the book that you want to write. So when I was writing my book, I first thought I was writing a memoir, and I did write a memoir, but then I realized that the people who need my book need more self-help than just my story. So I expanded my book to become both prescriptive and a memoir at the same time. So I think that people should think about who are the people that's going to read their book, but also when writing it, you can't get too distracted by it. So write the book that you need to write.
And what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
I think it's hard to be true to yourself and to be true to your own authentic voice while also trying to convince people that you're the perfect person to write this book. And that includes building a platform and proving to them that they should take a chance on you.
Well, let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that has worked well.
Because I launched my book during the coronavirus and I had to cancel my book tour and appearances in bookstores, I had to go virtual. And one of the ways that I went virtual is I went directly to the audiences that are going to read this book. So I went to doctors and patient advocates for people who were in touch with people in the fertility communities, and basically skipped the bookstore and went directly to the ideal consumer.
Perfect. And then what were the results of doing that? Because that's such a great strategy.
I think, on the one hand, the doctors, a lot of clinics were closed, so doctors had a lot more time to be on Instagram, to be on Zoom, to be on Facebook. So that got me directly, it wasn't like a friend of a friend. It was the person who needed the book was going straight to that audience. And I think we all have to rethink. We don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know when we're going to be back in bookstores and doing in-person readings, if people are going to want to come see. I had a storytelling show lined up, and I don't know if that's ever going to happen in person. So I think that's bad. But on the one hand, we all have a chance to reimagine what online marketing is going to look like for our books.
Well, speaking of books, I'd like to know what is your favorite book and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
I read this book called Lexicon, and it's actually not nonfiction. It's actually fiction. And it's a little bit of a thriller, but it's called Lexicon, so it's also about language. And it is a little bit portends the future as we're living it today about how people are swayed by marketing and branding. And I learned from that words really have a lot of power. And it's hard to explain a book that it's a thriller set around words, but that's what it is about. And I learned how much power the word has.
And for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote is something that I put in the beginning of my book, And it says that in the end, everything is going to be okay. And if it's not okay, it's not yet the end. And that's by Fernando Sabino. And I think that not only speaks to infertility, which I was writing about, but it speaks to today as well. And it speaks to writing, that you just have to know that things are going to be okay. And if they're not okay, then we're still in the middle of it. And we're not at the end, because at the end, I really want to believe that things are going to be okay. And I have to believe that. So I found that quote very comforting.
Amy, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
You can find me at thetryinggamebooks.com. You can find me on Instagram, Infertility Book. That's my name on Instagram. The Trying Game Infertility Book on Instagram.
Amy, thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.